Okay, be honest. Have you ever found yourself apologizing for something you literally didn't even do? Or, maybe you've walked away from a conversation feeling entirely confused about a memory you were so sure of just like 5 minutes ago. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. Manipulation often feels completely invisible when you're smack in the middle of it. It's super disorienting. But today, we are going to make the invisible visible. We're going to learn exactly how to spot the illusionist. So let's dive right into this explainer. We are looking at the illusionist versus the architect decoding manipulation. I'm absolutely fascinated by how these complex psychological tactics work, and together we are going to unpack the whole shebang today. By understanding the smoke and mirrors that manipulators, these illusionists, use, we can learn how to step into the role of the architect, building those unshakable boundaries that protect our reality, our energy, and our peace of mind. Here is our quick roadmap for today. First, we're going to look at how illusionists distort your sense of reality. Second, how they weaponize your own emotion and empathy. Third, how they control the connection. And finally, we will lock in the ultimate, concrete defense, the shield of firm boundaries. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, distorting your sense of reality, the illusion of truth. This is where manipulators act as true illusionists, relying on these subtle little tricks to make you doubt your own mind. The most famous of these tricks? Gaslighting. But listen, it doesn't always look dramatic. It is a slow, highly methodical pattern. It's this quiet, subtle rewriting of stories. You remember something clearly, and they just tell you it never happened. You try to explain your feelings, and they brush you off, telling you you're just being too sensitive. They aren't doing this just to disagree with you. They are doing it to make you question what's actually real. Over time, this creates a heavy, heavy fog of confusion, doubt, and eventually silence. Because, think about it, if they can make you doubt your own gut and your own memory, it becomes incredibly easy to control you. Now, compare that kind of reality distortion to our next tactic, love bombing. There is a stark contrast between a real connection and love bombing. A real connection, well, that takes time, space, and honesty. It grows quietly. But love bombing is a total illusion of intimacy. It is intense, rushed, and sweeping. Suddenly, you are the center of their universe, drowning in late-night calls, huge compliments, and talks of forever by, like, the second date. It feels amazing, right? I mean, who doesn't want to be adored? But here's the catch. That intensity isn't actual affection. It is a carefully crafted performance entirely focused on flattery and control. Let's break down how this actually plays out on a timeline. In week 1, you get that intense flattery and obsession. By week 3, you are completely hooked on the emotional high. But by week 5, the illusion completely shatters. They pull back and just go cold. And what happens? You start blaming yourself, trying to win back a perfect version of them that, honestly, never actually existed. That version was just bait. Your absolutely best defense here is simply to slow down. Look at their patterns, not their promises. Remember, you do not owe anyone an encore for a rushed performance. Okay, moving on to Section 2, weaponizing emotion and empathy. The illusion of care. This is exactly where manipulators turn your own kindness against you. I mean, have you ever heard a heavy sigh followed by, well, after everything I've done for you? Yeah, that is guilt-tripping in action. It doesn't look like loud manipulation. Instead, it turns your care into currency and your kindness into a debt you are endlessly trying to repay. It's literally designed to make you feel like setting a healthy boundary is somehow a failure or a really selfish act. But here's the thing. If your guilt doesn't come from your own values, but from their pressure, that is a control tactic for sure. Then we have what's called the white knight strategy. On the surface, this person looks like a total hero, showing up with concern and all the solutions. But behind the scenes, they actually stir up the conflict. They literally build the fire just so they can show up with the hose. They chip away at your confidence, swoop in to save you, and the catch is this. Their support comes with major strings attached. They need you broken to remain relevant in your life. If you start showing some independence or solving your own problems, they withdraw or make you feel totally ungrateful. Real support helps you rise, but a white knight, they need you on your knees. Now, let's decode one of the most disorienting psychological sleights of hand out there, DARVO. That stands for deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Imagine you calmly bring up something that hurt you. Step 1, they deny it flat out. That never happened. Step 2, they attack you. Suddenly they're going after your tone or your timing. And step 3, the flip. They make themselves the victim. Now somehow you are the one apologizing for being cruel just for bringing it up.
It is pure narrative control, meant to totally confuse you and bury the original issue. All right, on to section 3, controlling the connection, the illusion of access. In this phase, the manipulator deliberately restricts, confuses, or crowds the lines of communication to keep you completely off balance. First up is triangulation. This is basically pulling a third person into a conflict instead of communicating with you directly. It creates this invisible team against you, turning what should be a simple one-on-one disagreement into a scenario where you are suddenly and unfairly outnumbered. You'll hear phrases like, "Well, Sarah agrees with me," or "Everyone thinks you're overreacting." Let's be very, very clear about this. This is not genuine communication. This is strategy. They aren't trying to solve a problem. They are trying to win it by shifting the focus and making your voice feel so much smaller. Listen, if someone has a problem with you, they need to talk to you, not about you. Now, it is super fascinating to see how modern technology has practically weaponized this next tactic, breadcrumbing. Day 1, you get a random sweet compliment text. Day 5, a super vague promise of plans later. Day 14, they stall again and drop just one more emotional crumb. It's emotional clickbait. They give you just enough attention to keep you hooked, but never enough to actually move the relationship forward. It keeps you stuck in this paralyzing loop of anticipation and letdown, checking your phone at 2 a.m. because they never actually reject you, they just stall you out. And right on the flip side of those breadcrumbs is this silent treatment. Now, we all know silence can be peaceful. It can be a totally healthy pause to cool down after an argument. But the weaponized silent treatment, that is not a pause. It is a punishment. It's using absence to control you. They go cold and totally unreachable, letting uncertainty force you to chase them. And you end up apologizing just to end the unbearable quiet. What they are really saying is, I control when you feel safe, and if I withdraw, you will chase me. Which brings us to section 4, the shield of firm boundaries, becoming the architect. We've seen the illusions now. We know the tricks. So let's shift gears and look at the antidote. And I really want you to let this sink in. You do not need permission to believe your own experience, period. The necessity of firm boundaries simply cannot be overstated here. Boundaries are what separate your reality from their illusion. To step out of their game, you have to stop over-explaining yourself to someone who is literally committed to misunderstanding you. You have to start trusting your gut again.
So the crucial point is exactly how we apply these boundaries to neutralize the tactics we've just discussed. Let's look at how firm boundaries act as direct shields for each of these behaviors. When they try gaslighting, your firm boundary is, I trust my own experience. When they use guilt tripping, you remind yourself, I am allowed to say no. When they deploy the silent treatment, you state clearly, I am open to talking, but I won't be punished with silence. And when they try that dizzying DARVO method, you absolutely do not take the bait. You just say, I will stick to the facts. Acting as the architect means laying down these bricks, one by one, and refusing to let anyone move them. That is the necessity of firm boundaries in action.
Because establishing the necessity of firm boundaries is literally the only way to stop taking the bait, to walk away from the crumbs, and to finally reclaim your power. Accountability is not an attack, and truth is not cruelty. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Knowing what you know now, will you continue navigating their illusions, or will you start building your boundaries? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.